Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the American GTE Series. Tonight, we do battle at one of my personal favourite tracks that we can go to. We are at Spa Francorchamps, and this is deeply, I think, in the Ardennes Forest, if I'm not wrong, in Belgium. And it is an utterly fantastic track. It's got some of the most iconic corners, some of the most iconic sort of picturesque scenes, if you will, on any racetrack, on any calendar, and it perfectly matches with the cars that we are going around here today. And so this is, obviously, there's 5 cars out there. There's the Ford, there's the Ferrari, there's the Porsche, BMW, and finally the Corvette C8. So these guys have been practicing obviously all week, and I am really excited for this race. This is an hour and 15 minutes. We have a hyper pole as well. We've got everything today. This is going to be a 2 pit stop race. These guys are going to need to pit twice for fuel. They are limited on their fuel, and they will go no more than sort of 30 minutes on their fuel. You can see we are early morning, as all of our sessions are. We qualify early morning, and it's currently 9 o'clock in the morning, so the race will be a little bit later on in the day, just to replicate that sort of real feel. Obviously, you don't have qualifying and racing all on the same moment. And I'm really looking forward to this. Casey, I mean, what are your feelings about Spa?
It's definitely one of the more challenging tracks of the season. It kind of gives you a mix of everything that you can ask for, as a driver. It's got these high-speed flowing corners, as I'm watching James Pierce, go through right there. Puhan, I believe that's called. But, I mean, elevation changes, sweeping corners, tight technical, slow speed corners. It's got everything. So, and of course, I think we're all familiar with Raidillon, which is just, white-knuckled as you can get. So,
it's probably one of the best. I honestly think that first section there after the source, when you drop down and you go through Eau Rouge and up through Raidillon and stuff, I honestly think that is probably one of the best sections of track on any calendar. Of any track of anywhere. I think it's so iconic in the way it looks, and I mean, I love racing at Spa. It's tricky. The corners are all pretty much high speed, apart from that last little section in turn 1. It's just such a good track, and these cars absolutely feel fantastic around here, and it's just great fun that we've got this. We've got 20 odd GTEs all going out there doing some battle at the minute in qualifying. We've got the AMs on track. You can see on the screen there, we've got our sole Ford, Eric Calaga, in our only Ford, and Steven Martinez there in one of only, I believe, 2, maybe 3 Ferraris that we have on the grid. And you can see that this is what he's coming to here is probably one of the slowest speed sections of the whole track. It's a flick left and a flick right, or right and then left, sorry. And then he comes across the line. Let's see what sort of lap time we've got so far. And that is a 2:30. Sorry, that was a 2:14.1 from the Ferrari. So James Pierce at the minute is your pole sitter with a 2:12.342 in the Corvette C8, followed by Michael Calaga with a 2:13.4, also piloting what I think I was going to say Corvette as well, but he's not. He's in a Ferrari. So Ferrari in second, and then Mark Scott in third, and Brendan Mayling in a 2:14.1 in fourth. And that is also a Ferrari. So at the minute it's Corvette, Ferrari, Porsche, and then Ferrari. And let's see what else we've got down the line here. Tom E. Fisher is running a BMW. So we have another BMW out there. Kyle Smith was our only BMW driver before this. And now we have 3 of them, including Tom Fisher. There's also another one that's cropped into Pro. So really excited to see what sort of pace these guys have got in the BMWs. And Tom, it's his first race tonight with us. We wish him the very best of luck. I believe he's done fairly minimal practice, but I'm sure with his first lap time out of the blocks with a 2:14.5, could be a good contender for Ram, as long as he gets himself around there without any sort of off-tracks. Take a wide line through the first part of Puhan, down onto the straight into the chicane up ahead. And let's see if he could go any better with a time of a 2:14.5. Big BMW. That I can't get out of my head whenever I see the BMW on track of these memes of Godzilla. You know what I mean? This monstrous tank just bearing down on people, because it is such a such a big car.
It really is. And it's the thing that always surprises me anytime that I drive that BMW is how surprisingly nimble it is for
very
its
pointy.
size.
It's a very pointy thing.
Yeah. It's one of those cars you just kind of point and shoot coming up out of the corners, and it just goes.
Yeah, it's a cracking bit of kit. And let's see what sort of time Tom can do here as he crosses the line. Does he improve? He does not improve. I think he got an off track on that lap there. So no improvement for Tom Fisher. Eric Kalaga, let's see what sort of time our sole Ford driver can do with a 2:14.2. And let's see if he can improve on his second lap time. There's a little bit of a squirm coming out of that bus stop chicane there. Comes across the line. Does he go any better?
13.8.
13.8. Good time for Eric there in our sole Ford. We've got a smoky car in the pits. James Costa goes with a 2:13.7. Puts himself fifth in class. Well, fifth overall at the minute, but fifth in class. So let's push forward and see who else have we got out there at the minute. Let's have a look through the order. John Casey, seasoned veteran from season 1. Let's see what sort of time John can put in if he managed to get it across the line without any sort of nightmares. 2:19.2 from John. Puts himself 13th, lucky number 13. Can only mean good news for him. And we've got Jacob Heathcote now, I believe, just starting his... this will be his first time laps. A little bit late out of the blocks, but we're going to let him do his 2 time laps anyway. So here he goes across the line to start his second time lap. My apologies. 2:19.4 was his first lap. So let's see as he comes into the source. Hard on the brakes, tries not to lock them up. You've got to get the speed down to about 30 or 40 kilometers an hour when you take the apex of that corner. When you're up at about 104, it's a massive sort of decrease in speed to get the car stopped and pointed into the apex of the corner there. So,
whoa, that's a 1X. I think that's got to be.
Yeah, I think he probably did there. So I'm just going to put a quick call out to him. So that is your AMs all qualified. Now we are going to get into the nitty-gritty of the pro field. Now, this is where some of these guys here, again, I'd probably say have put in some serious time this week to get to the position where they're in. One guy who's not present today is Jeff Applegreen. So he's unfortunately messaged me saying he's not going to make it. It's still going to be quite tight for him to get in here. So he's not going to be joining us this evening. But we do have a healthy amount of pros out there as we're going to turn them loose now. Track is live for pros. All pros on track now, please. And there we go. They are heading out onto track now. You can see we have Porsche, Corvette, BMW, Porsche, Corvette, Porsche. Nice mix of cars. Everyone's not just descending on one brand and going with it. We do have a good balance of cars out there. And these guys will be heading out for their out lap plus their 2 time laps. And let's just see how much more pace they've got. I mean, James put in a 1:12.1, which was over a second quicker than any other AM. I must stress that is a fantastic time he's put in for qualifying there. His actual quickest practice time was a 2:11.7, which is rapid. And James, is just, I mean, he's an AM driver. He's a 2KI rating guy. And he's just really clicked well with this car, this track combination. But he's put in the time in to get this. He's built this setup himself. Talking to him on the run-up to the race this evening, he started building this setup off of a very old season 3 or season 4 setup. I don't know. It was an older setup that he was using, and had to basically rebuild the whole thing off of the just the chassis, sort of the suspension setups. None of the diff worked. All the cambers were all a bit, messed up. All the gearing was messed up, and he put a lot of time into getting that setup where it was, and it's paying off because currently he is the pole sitter of AM. Let's see what sort of times the pros can do to sort of combat that, if you will, because I think in practice he was second, third quickest, only to Kevin Brooks and James Armstrong.
Yeah, Kevin Brooks during practice, I caught him making about a 2:11.1 at one point, and that just blows my mind. The pace that this guy has shown all season has just been phenomenal. And it's not just the pace, though. It's his racecraft as well. He's extremely consistent. So you throw those two together, and it makes for somebody who's very difficult to beat.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And they all get themselves spaced out and start coming across the line now. To begin with Taylor Lane. And Taylor Lane, in practice, was able to put in a lap time of a 2:12.3. So let's just see here. Nice and steady as you come out of there. You don't want to be lighting the tyres. You're going to get a maximum run down here as you come in to, again, what I think is one of the most iconic corners of any track, period. As they go into the first part of Eau Rouge, up the hill, Raidillon. Don't get the off track at the top of there. Don't let the car go out too wide. Keep it stable. Completely flatten the throttle all the way up there. 263, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's probably about 175 miles per hour in old-fashioned money there. And then hard on the brakes into the right-hander is the first section of Lacombe. Right, then left. Push the car all the way out to the left-hand side of the racetrack to get maximum run down here into the right-hander. Brake just as that curb starts on the left-hand side.
Taylor runs way wide.
He does. He takes it really out wide. It's not intentional at all. Some drivers will take it off of the apex to get it back on to get a run out of there, but that was not intentional. He ran that car really out wide, and
just completely overcooked the corner
into P1. Keep the car stabilised. Again, a little bit out wide there. I think the guy behind him, though, who was that? That was Manuel Tolentino. He really did go out wide. That will be an invalid lap for him. Car 46 will not be setting a first-time lap here. Again, right and left flick as they come down into this double right-hander, which then sets you up for that back straight into Blanchimont. So onto the curbs. Another right-hander here. You can, if you set the car up perfectly right, keep that corner flat. But, yeah, it all gets a little bit squiggly. So
that corner there, Blanchimont, that just raises the hair on the back of my neck every time going through there. All right, 213.1 for Taylor Lane for a first lap. Not bad. That puts him fourth overall. Well, was fourth in pro.
Was indeed. So just with Taylor Lane still, and then other cars that have gone through. Kevin Brooks has just smashed it out of the water with a 2:11.8. He is really tearing it up out there. James Armstrong is your second guy with a 2:12.1. Dan Tenorio 2:12.4. Mateus Dubchek with a 2:12.9 and Taylor Lane 2:13.1. Andrew Hewson down the pecking order a little bit. Andrew did a really good time in practice. If he was able to pull that off again, he jumped Taylor Lane and propped himself into fourth position.
Yeah, and we know Andrew's definitely capable of it. He's definitely shown speed here, especially last season.
Indeed.
Am I correct in saying this is Andrew's first race with us this season?
No, Andrew did Imola.
Okay.
And didn't get past turn one on both occasions.
Okay, that's why. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't remember really seeing much of him so far this year.
No, he got Punterino'd on both occasions. Unfortunately, very very similar accidents as well. Never managed to get it out of second gear, I don't think. So yeah, it sucks. But he, he's back. I think he missed a couple of them. I think it was his son's birthday last week. Forgive me for saying. So yeah, he did really well. Done really well in practice for this one. And yeah, we wish him the best of luck. And let's see sort of what sort of time he can do his second time in that Corvette. Again, I think him and James Pierce were talking setups earlier, and Andrew was trying to get his head around what James had done to this car to get it to go as quickly as it could. So we'll see. Oh, he's bringing it into the pits. Forget it. It's not going to improve on that time. Must have got an off track, and he's just bringing it into the pits. So that is that. That's all he's got. So we've got Mac Miller now. Derek McManus, car 77, pole position Eastport. So let's see what he can do on his second time lap. He's put in a 2:12.6 to start with, which is a good solid fourth position, but is he going to improve on this? And again, hard on the brakes, using all that curve, getting maximum run. That's an off track. That's an off track. You can see, you can just see it as an off track the second he hit that curve. Take it too far over to the left on there, and it's game over. So who have we still got out there? We've got Mac Miller.
Mac Miller
currently hasn't set a time, so let's see what he can do.
He will take over 5th overall. 5th for pros.
Okay, so he pops himself into that position for Hyperpole, which we are about to get underway. So I think that was all of the pros done. And let's start calling these guys to the end of pit lane now to head back out there to do battle once again to improve their times. Firstly, can I have car 67 to the end of pit lane now, please? First car up is Kevin Brooks, who's going to line up at the end of pit lane. He's going to be the first guy out. Car 88, can I have you second behind Kevin, please? That's James Armstrong. That's his first race with us this evening. Runs, obviously, competitively in the World Series. Had a really good race tonight at Road Atlanta in that. Car 32, can I have you behind car 88, please? And that's the Fiercely Forward Porsche of Taylor Lane. He's going to line up third out there. Any time now. There we go. Lights the tyres up and gets himself slotted in. Car 17 next, please. And behind Taylor Lane is another Porsche of Dan Tenorio. Now, Dan is a Twisted Racing driver who has unfortunately... he's reconnecting. Okay, we'll let him reconnect. Car 52 behind that, please. And Mateusz Dubček is the last of the pros. Car 52 to the end of pit lane now, please. Mateusz. We are going to give Mateusz. Okay. Let me breathe.
Been a long day.
It's been a long day. Apologies, Mateusz. Yes, that is right. Sorry, can I have car 77? Apologies, Mateusz. Can you please park it? Thanks for the call there, guys. Just juggling a few things. Car 77 is not in the server. Okay, first, can I have car 23 behind that, please? Actually, car 79, Mac, you are the last. You're the last pro. Sorry. Head to the back, please. Car 79. Okay, car 82. So car 82 is Michael Kalaga. That is the Ferrari that I believe is currently leading the points. Car 22 behind that, please. Car 44 and car 68 are the last two AMs. Dan, if you've got yourself back in, just slot in front of the AMs, please, mate. Okay, track is live. You out lap and 2 time laps again, guys. Breathe. Yeah, if you
If you
guys
can
could
make
just swap
that.
around, that'd be great. So just in order of how you qualified. No, you sit behind the pros. Okay, so we are live on track now, and let's get these guys out there and get them sorted. So what this is, guys, is so Hyperpole is they go out again and they go out for 2 time laps more to try and improve their previous times. So they are going out again for 2 time laps, and we'll see what sort of lap times. If they can improve, I'm sure they will have a very good try at it. So.
Now, one question I want to ask you about here, because I'm curious, for the viewers and for my own knowledge here, are they allowed to change tires between the 2 sessions?
Between the
initial qualifying and
they go back out on a completely fresh car, so they go back out with a car all set.
Wasn't exactly sure if it was kind of like Formula 1 style, where you get basically 1 set of tires or 2 sets, and that's it.
Yeah, no, they get a full reset on the car, so they're going out there now with everything completely fresh as a daisy. And let's have a look and see where we're at and who's looking promising for getting themselves sorted and potentially climbing up that order. I still can't get over how quick James Pearce is with being able to slot himself into second with a 2:12.1. I think that's fantastic overall as well. That is some serious pace he's got there.
Yeah, it really is. To be honest, it's not something that really surprises me coming from him. I know me and you have seen this over and over again from where he's ridiculously fast.
Yeah.
It's just, the fact of the matter is either he wins or he's on the back of...
You're right.
On the back of a truck getting towed.
Yeah, you're not wrong with that.
If he can ever figure out the consistency, he's going to be a force to be reckoned in any series or any race he does.
No, absolutely. We got James Cox, who's parked his car on the first section of the track, so he's realised that he's just not going to improve. So who have we got out there? We've got Mark Scott, Blake Scott, Michael Kalaga, James Pearce, and in the pros, we have Mac Miller, Daniel Tenorio, and James Armstrong, and Kevin Brooks. So there are 4. And let's see here as we are with, that is Michael Kalaga there in the Ferrari of Vulture Motorsports. So these guys, so it's Eric Kalaga, Michael Kalaga, and Stephen Martinez, the 3 of those all running a team together. And let's just see how he can improve as he throws the car into the first part of Pouon's second right left-hander on the exit. Can't go too wide out on the curb on the right-hand side there because you will get an off-track. And then brakes hard, keeps the car hugged, and then it's a flick to the left to get it back on out of that corner, maximising your speed, obviously, on the exit on this short run down. And keeps it absolutely pinned through there, which is good. You've got to keep every bit of momentum you can on the exit of that corner down the straight here. So let's see what sort of lap time he can do. Let's see. First lap from Michael Kalaga. Does he improve? No, he does a 2:14.1. Let's have a look and see if anyone else has improved. Kevin Brooks doesn't set a time. James Pearce goes faster with a 2:11.9. Dan Tenorio has jumped up. I believe his previous lap in qualifying was a 2:12.4. He's just done a 2:12.1. So he's jumped up the order quite a bit there. And James Armstrong with a 2:12.1 as well. No, sorry, 2:12.3. He's in the pits. Derek McManus didn't go out, and Mac Miller is on his second lap, so he did not improve on that first lap. Michael Scott, I can see, Mark Scott slowing down in the background there. He's not going to improve. But let's see what Blake Scott can do here. I'm just going to check through the field. Have we got any more pros out there? We have got Mac Miller and Dan Tenorio and Kevin Brooks. So let's just see. Well, Kevin's already a pole sitter. Unless Dan or Mac can pull something pretty big out of the bag, your pole sitter is set with Kevin Brooks. So let's just see if we can go, if they can go any quicker to beat his time. You can see Blake here coming in to the right hand on the back end of the lap. Flicks it to the left. Gets the car settled and balanced. A little bit of damage to the front end of Blake's car there, I think. You can just see that front splitter is just slightly curled up. So where he got that, I don't know. He's doing really well out there. Currently sitting in third in AM. But again, it's only a small margin. He's only got to find a 10th here on this lap to improve. Dan Tenorio takes second place from James Armstrong. Goes into a 2:12.1. Great lap from Dan there.
Yeah, Mac Miller improved his time on that lap as well at 2:12.6.
Did indeed. And let's see what Blake did. Did Blake get any more time out of it? He does. He does not know, but Michael Kalaga. Yeah, so Blake Scott is in third position overall, and that, I believe, is your qualifying all completed. There are no other cars out there on track at the minute. And Casey, if you'd be so kind as to talk us through the results when they come up, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're just sorting the grid out now for the race. Obviously, we were splitting the classes pro and am.
Right. So on pole, Kevin Brooks 2:11.644. James Pierce will lead the AMs to the green with a 2:11.9. Dan Tenorio second in pro 2:12.15. James Armstrong fourth overall 2:12.18. Fifth overall Mac Miller with a 2:12.6. Derek McManus with another 2:12.6. Taylor Lane, 7th overall, 2:12.7. Matusz Dubček with a 2:12.944. Michael Kalaga with a 2:13.06. He will grid up 9th overall, 10th. Manuel Tolentino with a 2:13.1. We're fresh here. 11th is going to be Blake Scott with a 2:13.2. Andrew Hewson with a 2:13.67. 12th overall, 13th overall, Mark Scott with a 2:13.6. 14th, James Costa with a 2:13.7. th, Eric Kalaga, 2:13.895. Steven Martinez, 16th, 2:13.9. Brent Bravada with a 2:13.9 and 17th. Braden Mailing with a 2:14.1. Eric Soy with a 2:14.3. Thomas Fisher, 14.5. 21st, Miles Morse with a 2:18.1. John Casey with a 2:19.2. And Jacob Heathcote rounds out the field with a 2:19.4. And that is your starting grid for tonight's only race. I was about to say the first race, but we have the endurance race tonight, 75 minutes. So that is your starting grid.
Is indeed, that is, and we've just sorted the grid out for the 75-minute race this evening, and yeah, we're going to get these guys turned loose pretty shortly here. So just getting this race session all set up while we're doing that. Maybe 30 seconds, just double checking everything over. I do not want to make a mistake here and put these guys in a position where it's all skew F. That is correct. Okay, session has gone live for these guys, so that is the race session all set up. I'm going to save the replay from the practice session just in case I need to review anything moving forward. So, Casey, racing news? Anything you've got?
Oh, not out of sports cars. A bit of exciting news out of the NASCAR world out today that they're going to be testing rain tires at Martinsville, which some of you who aren't familiar with Martinsville, it's a short little oval short track somewhere in the hills of Virginia, and NASCAR's never run in the rain.
Not on an oval. No, on an oval. You're right.
And now they're considering it. So they're actually trying to find a way to make that work. So I mean, I'm all for it. To me, that's actually really exciting. So it was Thomas Stakis actually that shared that with me earlier today. Sent me a press release. So
I can only imagine that it would make the racing somewhat pretty exciting.
Oh man. I mean, well, yeah, they're doing all kinds of different things. Now, I'll tip my cap to NASCAR here. They're doing everything they can to make it fresh and exciting again. And you know, the Bristol Dirt Race, I don't know if you had a chance to see that. That was actually that was a heck of a race. So I'm all for it at this point. You know, you want to you shake the schedule up, make it new and exciting. Hey, let's do it. Why not?
I did see some of the Bristol Dirt Race. I didn't see a lot of it, but I did see some of it, and it does. I've got to say, look very, very exciting.
Yeah, it was it was something new, something different, and at this point, like I said, I'm all for it. I've been a bit more traditionalist in the past, I guess you could say, but some of this new stuff is exciting, and I'm really excited for them to go to like Circuit of the Americas and Road America this year. That's huge. You know, that's two of the most, well, Road America is one of the most iconic, road courses in America. So that's going to be exciting. I'm actually really looking forward to that later this year.
Absolutely.
Anything in your neck of the woods? What have you learned?
To be honest with you, no, not really. I've got nothing racing news I can think of. Obviously, we had our other Grand Prix was over the weekend, and I'd rather sit and watch the wall than that. So, the wall has far more. No, I'm joking. I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of F1. It just doesn't grab me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's.
I hate to say it, but it hasn't grabbed my attention now in about 4 or 5 years.
No. What can I say? I mean, if you had multiple cars or multiple teams that could fight for a championship and run competitively together, I would be all over it like a tramp on chips. But we haven't got that. What we have is unfortunately, one or maybe two at a push cars that can hang with it. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm kind of like, well, I like to watch racing where I know what you don't know what's going to happen until it happens. Whereas you can pretty much bet your house on what's going to happen in a Grand Prix these days. And yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, and to be honest, that's what's over the last 4 years, 4 or 5 years, that's really what's drawn me to sports car racing.
Yeah.
And that's really what's caused me to broaden my horizons, beyond NASCAR into like Bathurst and the Bathurst 1000 or the Bathurst 12. All these other major marquee races that maybe aren't so popular in America, like 24 Hours of Nürburgring. You can't ever predict who's going to win that one. I mean, that race is just insane. 200 cars that start a race. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I know.
Like, where else can you see that?
No, that's it. I don't know. It's just something about having, big grids and stuff like that, and it's just wicked to see it. But I don't know. Formula One does very, very little for me, if I'm honest. And it's a shame because it's the pinnacle of
series either. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's just it. I don't know how do I describe it. It's just I look back on it and I look at I like it from the 70s. That was my favourite era of Formula One, and it was all right. It was dangerous, and unfortunately, a lot of motor races, racing drivers, got either injured or unfortunately worse. But the cars were cars. You had big slick tyres, you had slides, you had H-pattern gearboxes, you had guys having to manually do things in the car, and it wasn't, dumb trickery, and there wasn't this
computers.
Yeah, and there wasn't this, we've got to make carbon fibre that thin that you can practically, if you hold a light to it, you can see through it. It was just, all right, it was the cutting edge of technology for the time, but it was still. They were cars, they were driven, and I don't know, Formula One to me just hasn't quite got that element. I've probably just annoyed a lot of people, and whatever. I don't know. I can't get into Formula One. The last Formula One race that I watched religiously, properly, was when I remember Felipe Massa, and it was like, I want to say it was like a Chinese Grand Prix or Malaysian Grand Prix, about 12 years ago, and I haven't really, I've not felt like I've missed anything. Do you know what I mean?
No, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. For me,
I might catch the news. I might look at the news. I might look at some highlights. I might catch a video of a big crash and go, "Oh, that's interesting." Other than that, nah.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, what did it, honestly, was the move from the V8 to whatever it is that they went to. I think it was like V6s or something. They sounded like vacuum cleaners.
Yeah.
And for me, that was kind of what killed it for me. They do sound a little bit better now, but I can't. To me, even the move from V10s to V8s was bad. But then you're taking away that high-pitched scream that the V8 still made, and you're going vacuum. So that's supposed to be exciting? No.
Yeah, nah, not really. Yeah, I know what you mean with that. I know exactly what you mean. It's
for me, when I go to a racetrack, and I'm going to go back to Sebring for a second, because one of the very best things about Sebring, 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday, the cars are rolling out for warm-up, whether you're awake or not. And when they start going around the track, where I park in Green Park, after they get circling, you are surrounded by a symphony of cars. I can't describe it any other way. You can, and all of them have the distinct noises. You got the Lamborghini, the Porsche, the Cadillac DI, and you can hear all these things all at the same time. And I mean, they are loud.
Yeah,
it's that's just what does it for me. You can't have racing without sound of the cars.
No, you're right.
You take that away, you're taking away, I think, at least 75% of the excitement. So that's my opinion. Maybe it's an unpopular one at this point, but I don't know. That's me.
No, you've got a point there. There's this whole atmosphere thing with racing, and I go and watch quite a bit of motorsport, and I remember going to see the historic festival at Silverstone when the world was normal, maybe 2-3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I've seen modern day Formula One cars on exhibitions and stuff, and when you hear a Cosworth 3-litre DFV, which is the Formula One engine that they used for many years in the 70s and even into the 80s, and well, I think it was originally a 60s engine, the DFV, and then they pushed it forwards into the 70s and into the early 80s. It just sounds massive. Like you get one of those go past you, and it's physical pain.
Oh, absolutely.
And you get a feel to them, and yet you see modern day cars, and it's just like, that's the kind of not really doing anything for me there. Do you know what I mean?
Yep. You know, the one that I will say was like that still, and I think the last year for it was 2019, was the Porsche RSR that we have here on iRacing. If you took your earplugs, or in the case of me, if I took my headset off that I use to scan the teams and drivers, while that thing was going by, it was absolute ear splitting. Would actually cause pain.
Yeah.
Because it was just that high pitch. It was a brutal sound.
It's a screamer.
Oh man. And it made such a distinct sound. You could hear that thing going all the way from the other side of the track. It was crazy.
And there's something about that. There's something about that sound. You know, racing cars in general, they're meant to sound symphonic. And, you know, I again, talking about cars, sounds and things like that, I went to the Goodwood Revival, there's the Goodwood Festival of Speed, which is more of the exhibition. It's got the hill climb and things like that. But then you've got the Revival, which is a proper race weekend. And that's where they dig out AC Cobras, Shelby Daytonas, Ferrari 250s, E-Type Jaguars, all these, you know, iconic cars from like the 60s and stuff. And they have, I want to say it's not called the Jack Sears Trophy, that's something else. It's called something else. And when you've got like these cars, and you know, it was something like the grid was worth £25 million with the cars that were on it, and but you hear these cars and the sounds that they make, and it's just wow. And it's just so, you know, you get obviously an AC Cobra go by with a 8-litre V8 jobby in it, and it's 600 horsepower, and it's you know, it's shaking the beer out your hand. And you know, you get a Ferrari 250 with a 3-litre V12 or an E-Type Jaguar with a straight 6, and then that's kind of just like, it's like a swarm of angry bees just have entered your ears. And it's like, it was just such a good weekend, and I'll never forget it. But the other thing that you can't comprehend, especially with historic motor racing like that, was when you watch a Ferrari 250 short wheelbase, which is a car that they only built 25 of or whatever, and you're watching that being driven by, I think it was like Martin Brundle was driving it when I went to see it, and you're watching that trade paint with Kenny Brack, who was in an in a Shelby Daytona, and you're looking at these cars and you're going, these are like museum piece cars. They are, I know they're racing cars, they're there to be driven, but these are like one
multi-million-dollar cars.
Yeah, and you're seeing them go through, you know, St Mary's, which is a corner at Goodwood, side by side, you know, bashing door handles, and your brain is just going, I can't believe I'm seeing this. You know, I can't believe I'm watching. Yeah, it's different when you see modern day racing cars because they've come off the production line as a racing car. They've gone out there. You're watching a piece of history being manhandled by a guy who doesn't own the car. He's just there to race it. He's there to drive it. He's not there to look after it or anything. He's there to try and win in it. It's just, I don't know, there's something ever so cool about watching historic racing like that. I absolutely love it. And yeah, I'd go back to Silverstone in a heartbeat to watch the historic festival. I'd love to go back down to Goodwood and watch that, but unfortunately, we're not allowed at the minute because But anyway, normality will return soon. I'm very jealous of you, Casey, being able to go and watch some proper motor racing, because I love going to see cars. Most weekends, I live about 20 minutes away from Donington Park, and I spend my life sat at the banks outside of Redgate at Donington Park watching the racing go on. And I think I'll give my right arm to go and watch some racing cars, especially on today. I actually thought it was on today because it's a nice day. It was a nice day over here in the UK, and like the weather was nice, and I went outside my house. It was warm for the first time that I can remember, and I was like, I'd love to be at a racetrack today. But,
yeah, it was much needed.
Very jealous.
I think I can firmly say that, without the couple of breaks that I've had, the last couple months, getting to go to Daytona, even though things weren't the same this year, they did cancel the camping, which is something that I really look forward to. I love camping at Daytona. Had to get a hotel room, but I was like, fine, bit the bullet, got the hotel room. But yeah, I mean, without those two, I mean, I go crazy, because it's that sense of normalcy. It's that sense of things getting back to where they should be. And I think that's what we're all searching for right now.
Yeah, you're right. It's it's such a shame, really, that we can't just flick a switch and go back to the way we were a few months ago, because it'd be quite nice to be able to do that. But hey, look, there is one positive that came out of all of it, and that is the fact that right now on iRacing, for instance, there is, and I'm waiting for my thing to load, 12,361 people on iRacing right now. And
and just to put that into perspective for people that aren't really familiar with iRacing, or maybe haven't been on as long as myself or Harry, on any given night before COVID, I think on average you would see 2,500, maybe 3,000, 3,500 people on a good Friday night. So that's, I mean, you're talking quadruple the numbers of what we had, year and a half ago. So that blows my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great, and you know what? Here we are. 20 seconds is the countdown. These guys are on the grid, ready to do battle for 75 minutes of Spa Francorchamps, and they have 30x to get themselves through this hour and 15-minute race. So we wish them all the best of luck, and they're about to get rolling as the Porsche pace car pulls away here, and they are away. Big tyre spin there from James Armstrong, making sure he's got plenty of heat in those tyres before he pumps the brake pedal. To the pros will head out first, followed by the AMs. The AMs will be leaving a nice gap, as we can see. That's your pro field currently on board with Kevin Brooks, who's your pole sitter, who was on the right-hand side. He'll be starting on the right-hand side as they come through the final chicane. And here we go. Let's hold on to our breath here, because I'm sure Eau Rouge, these guys are going to be running all different manner of wing settings, all different manner of setup settings. Eau Rouge lap 1 is going to be somewhat interesting for these guys. So here we go. Kevin Brooks brings them through the left-hander. We are about to get underway, and we have a green flag. They are away for 75 minutes of Spa. Come across the line. There is some jutting. There is some moving around behind. And on the brakes into the first corner. Are they all through? There's a little bit of a side race moment there from Derek McManus on the exit in the PPR Porsche. But they are down the hill all fine. Let's look back now to the AMs that have just gone green. And are they all fine as James Pierce leads them into turn 1? AMs, I believe, are all fine. There's a slide there from James Costa. But back to the pros as they go up onto the straight into Lacombe. And Kevin Brooks at an early stage is positioning his car where hopefully no one's really going to get a slipstream on him into Lacombe, into the right-hander. Drops down, and it is Kevin Brooks followed by Dan Tenorio. Taylor Lane is side by side with James Armstrong into the right-hander. James is just slipping that BMW up a little bit more. But Taylor's got the Octomine into the left-hander and keeps that position. So Taylor into third, followed by James Armstrong and Matt Miller.
Yeah, Mac Miller looked to the inside for just a second there on James Armstrong. Couldn't quite get the run that he needed. But James is not letting Taylor go here. Wow, that's an aggressive move.
He goes from left to right, looking at the inside. Can't quite get the move done. And loses another spot here to Mac Miller.
Yeah,
Mac Miller,
seeing that BMW struggle just a little bit on cold tires here.
He is, and he's squirming, and there's a little bit of netcode between the two of them there. You can see he started to turn him. A little bit of a gap between the two cars. So netcode is where there's space between the cars, but for whatever reason with latency with the servers or whatever, and we can see these guys, I mean, this pro field here is jutting around all over the place. Mac Miller to the outside into Blanchemont. You've got to lift there. It's way too early in the race to be doing anything like that. And into the braking zone for the bus stop side by side. Mac Miller.
Oh.
There's contact. Derek McManus.
Big contact with Mac Miller.
Big contact. Tyre smoke everywhere. Both cars managed to get away. But I have a feeling that that damage there is going to be costing both of those guys a little bit of time. Straight line speed is absolutely everything and crucial around here.
Yep, that right front fender on Mac Miller's car is pretty well crinkled up now, so he's definitely going to be suffering on these straights, just like you said.
Yeah, we saw there that they just outbraked himself. He just got on that brakes, and then it was just as he was coming into the very end that he just started to lock up and just slid straight into the side. The damage on Derek McManus' car is far more substantial to that that's on Matt Miller's car, but let's see here. They come down the straight. Matthias Dubček is at the inside of Matt Miller. Into the Coombe. Mac fends him off. And there we can see behind us we've got Andrew Hewson looking to make up some places on Matthias Dubček, and that is Matt Miller in front of him with Full Send Racing. So Andrew Hewson might not have qualified too well, but let's see what his race pace is as he gets himself down into Pouhon, into the braking zone, puts the car on the apex nicely, runs it out wide, a little bit too wide there to maximise off the corner. Not going to gain anything on Matthias Dubček, the guy ahead of him.
So further back in the AM field, bit of a moment here for Miles Morse going into that first chicane at the end of Raidillon Straight, or Kimmel Straight, I believe, as it's called.
There's a problem there for Manuel Talentino. He has dropped behind the leader of AM, so I'm just going to go back and sort of try and understand what happened there. Did he have a moment on his own? Was he helped? Let's just see. Here me go back, whizzing through replays. Moment all on his own, all on his own. Hits the brake pedal, goes on to, he just lost it on the, lost it into the Coombe, all on his own. So back out there, but he is right down the pecking order. In fact, he's got the leader of AM ahead of him. So there we have it. James Pearce running away with it in AM at the minute. He has pulled out a 4-second lead after just 6 minutes in this race. But all the AMs are really bunched up tight together. Let's get a look at these AMs. And it's Michael Kalaga, Blake Scott, Mark Scott. We've got the two Scotts together in second and third, should I say third and fourth, sorry. Followed by the Ford of Eric Kalaga, and then James Costa, Brent Pravada, Stephen Martinez, Tom Fisher. First race in the season tonight, and he is looking absolutely fantastic out there. So let's see what sort of pace these BMWs have got. Got some new BMWs. The new entries we've had to the season this evening have all been in the BMW. Is that a sign? Is that trying to say something? Let's just see as this race plays out and see what the BMW can do. Maybe it manages its tyres better. I know at Sebring it was a BMW frenzy. We actually, my team that I was running with, decided to swap to the BMW lastminute.com.
Yeah, well, I'm watching here James Armstrong. That car seems to be coming in for him now that the tires would have had a chance to warm up, build up the pressure a little bit.
Very much
He's
so.
all over the back of Taylor Lane. He was actually earlier in this lap here, he was putting quite a bit of pressure on him. But through the fast sweeping corners, Taylor's managed to put a couple car lengths on him now. So, but that car definitely for him.
Let's drop back to what's going on in the Anfield, because Tom Fisher is all over the back of Stephen Martinez. That is a battle for 19th overall. So that's Stephen Martinez and Tom Fisher. And then just ahead of these guys, there's Eric Kalaga and James Costa. So we are now with this battle in the AM. These guys really punched up together. And this is where this BMW might come on strong, as he gets a good run out of that corner onto the straight as they come through towards Blanchimont. Will he look? He does. He takes a quick look just to the line. Doesn't make a move yet. He's going to be very bold to make a move here. He's on the grass as he goes into Blanchimont. You do not want to be doing that, Tom. That is not going to help your race at all. Looks to the outside. Is on the brakes. Gets down the outside of the Ferrari. Ooh. That is close as they come through there. Gets a run out the corner. Gets the job done on the outside. Steve Martinez slightly outbraked himself. Does not want to plough into the back of his teammate in that Ford.
Yeah, I think there was actually a little bit of contact there between the two. I don't think it hurt. It didn't upset Eric's car, but I think there may have been a little bit of contact.
Tom Fisher still ahead here. But let's have a look as we get back to the pro field. James Armstrong is looking for put moves on Taylor Lane. They are side by side through Lacombe. And James Armstrong just jots back in behind Taylor Lane. Doesn't want to do anything just yet, but there was side by side as they came through there. And Taylor Lane has run it out wide. We saw him do that in qualifying. He puts the car really on the exit of that corner, right out on the left-hand side. And James tries to get the run down here into Pouan. We've got Sean D. Campbell, who's caught up through the field on the back of these guys. And there's contact on the exit. James Armstrong goes for the outside move. Gets it all a bit wrong. He lets him go. That's good sportsmanship from the two there. And these guys in these BMWs are all over the back of this Porsche. Taylor has got a mirror full of M Sport badges. Now what can they do as they get the run out of here? I think the BMW is just quicker in a straight line. I think it's got more round here, and I think it's got a lot more than, unfortunately, what Taylor's got in that Porsche. So let's just see as they come into Blanchimont. Is there going to be any moves? James looks to the outside of Blanchimont. Doesn't get anything done. Tucks back in behind Taylor Lane. Into the braking zone for the bus stop. Sean Campbell took right up behind the rear wing of the Porsche. They're side by side. I think it makes sense. But he gets a run on the exit and he's up the inside. Are they going to be side by side as they come into La Source? I think Taylor might have just had a bit of a run there. Sean is looking to make it three wide. Don't be doing that, Sean. Great racing.
Side with BMWs.
Great racing here. Taylor is making that thing very wide. But are we going to be looking at a two-wide situation into Eau Rouge? That is going to be tricky. It's James Armstrong. They're still side by side. There's contact at the top of the hill. That's going to be a slowdown. He's got to back out of that, I think. I don't know if it is a slowdown. I think he might have been able to.
James had to have had a slowdown.
He's backing down. Matthias Dubček gets around him. Andrew Houston's looking to get around him. I think Taylor might have even had one as well.
Is that James Pierce?
No, that's white wheels.
Andrew.
White wheels. Andrew's got white wheels.
Well, Taylor must have really got to slow down.
I mean, these guys are all over each other here. And Mac Miller's now looking to get onto Taylor Lane on the outside. Gets the job done. Taylor, if he can get a run down, he might be able to put something on at Pouan, but he can't. He's too late on the apex. And he loses an absolute stack of positions.
No.
But
was incredible racing, though.
The guy who you're with right now is the guy that benefited more out of that than anybody else. And that's Sean Campbell, who went from last in pro. And he's got around 5 drivers to get himself up into 5th in class. It's Kevin Brooks, Dan Tenorio, Taylor Lane, James Armstrong, and Sean Campbell in that BMW. And you can see him working the wheel, coming onto the exit into the next right-hander, keeps it completely flat, upshifts to get a little bit of short shift there. and he's away. But here's one thing that might play out in this race, and we've seen it in the other 75-minute races, especially in the World Series, is pit stop strategy. Are these guys going to be even attempting to save any fuel? Because obviously the more fuel you save, the less time you spend in the pits. As we look behind, and there is moves looking to happen. Andrew Hewson goes a little bit defensive on the entrance of the corner, and James Armstrong tucks right up behind that Corvette, trying to get a run down into the source, just out to the left-hand side. Going to get a run down here if he gets the braking point right.
Oh, he was going to try and cut it back to the inside of Andrew Hewson, but Mac Miller was there.
Put his nose in.
Yep. Prevented that over-under.
James is all over the track. He is using every inch. He paid $15 for this track. He's going to use every millimetre he can. As we come down the Campbell Straight once again.
He's got a huge run on Andrew.
Huge run. Can he get anything done into the braking zone? No, he can't. Taylor Lane gets the move done on Mac Miller behind, though. Good move from Taylor there. Just got the run down the straight. I think that might be the damage that's on Mac's car. He's just holding him back. But Derek McManus has been able to catch back up with the damage that's on his car.
Oh, Mac Miller gets in the back of Taylor Lane there.
A little bit of a tap there. Shouldn't have hurt him too much. Fantastic racing from these guys. This pro field is really looking quite good. James Pierce has been able to... Wow, he's just going to keep on pulling away. Obviously, these guys are battling, so their lap times are down.
Yeah, James is actually almost closed up on the back of this pro field here, with the way these guys are fighting. Absolutely no prisoners taken here in the first few laps of the race here.
No, exactly.
James Armstrong side by side. Andrew Hewson, he gets it done right before they go into Blanchimont.
Good move there as they come into the bus stop chicane. Andrew Hewson wants it back, looks to the inside, thinks about out braking, doesn't do it. Oh, locks the brake up right at the very edge of the braking zone there. Doesn't particularly get a good run out of there either.
Nope, and that's pulled Taylor Lane right back up to Andrew now.
Stephen Martinez is out of the race. There's one am. That's our first casualty so far. He's one lap down. He's part of the car. He is done. So we have our first casualty of the race, and that's Stephen Martinez. Let's look up through the field. I mean, just absolutely cracking races so far. Let's look at our pole, or what was our pole sitter in Kevin Brooks, has just waved goodbye to the whole field. There's a 3-second gap between him and Dan Sonorio, and there's a 7-second back to Sean Campbell, and then there's the train. It's Sean Campbell, Matthias Dubček, James Armstrong, Andrew Hewson, Taylor Lane looking to the inside of Andrew Hewson, can't get the job done. Has to tuck back in at Lacombe. Flicks it back into the right-hander. Taylor Lane gets a good run. Gets a good run out of there. Is he alongside? He's not. Into the right-hander. It's the brake pedal. Andrew takes a slightly wider line. That brings Taylor right up to the back, but also brings Mac Miller with him. So let's see what happens as they come through this left-hander, as they head down into Pouon. All of them using every millimetre of a track there. That is an off-track for sure. They've got plenty of them, so they're going to start using them. And we are going to be, we're about 15 minutes away from our first round of pit stops here. Great racing so far, absolutely fantastic. Pro field, I mean, everywhere from sort of 4th or 5th back is absolutely welded together.
Yeah, this has been incredible racing so far. And I think you're right, though, with this pit strategy. That's really going to throw a monkey wrench into what these guys are doing, because you're going to have some guys who are really on it, not saving any fuel at all, but then they're going to have to spend a little bit more time on pit road, you know, as you mentioned earlier.
I don't think any one of these guys has saved any fuel so far. I don't think they've saved a drop.
I think the only one out there who may be even thinking about it might be Kevin Brooks. He's got himself a pretty good gap. The rest of these guys, you can't save fuel. Not in the midst of this battle like these guys are here.
And there's another thing that's going to play into effect here potentially, and what is with the new updates that are coming about the GTE cars, is are they going to be able to make an hour and 15 minutes on these tyres? We saw it at, I saw it personally at Sebring, where we were struggling to double stint the tyres. I mean, after one run, I think it was one of my drivers in the car, he came in, he had 58%, we went back out. I brought it in after the second run with 17% of tyre left on it. It handled absolutely horrifically when I brought it back in. But let's see what these guys are going to be able to do on their tyres as we have another side-by-side back in the order.
Lane,
and Andrew Houston,
outside.
Looking to the outside, gets it done. Andrew Houston
drove it way deep into Lacombe.
Oh, he really does. And Andrew has to get on the brakes pretty strong to avoid contact. Brings Matt Miller straight into the picture as he looks to the inside. Down into the right-hander, but Andrew covers off the line, breaks a smidge later. Matt
Taylor wide again at Rivage.
Hates that corner. He's not having a good time around that corner at all. And they all probably take the off-track again on the exit of there. These off-tracks are tallying up. They've got 30 to play with before they see a black flag.
I really think Taylor's struggling with the handling of that car.
I think he's just struggling with the braking of it. He's not getting it slowed down enough. He needs to back that corner up if he's got any hope of being able to stay in front of these guys. Every time he runs wide there, he opens that door and just welcomes them in to put a nose up the inside and send it.
Corvette's just so strong through here, all over the back of Taylor Lane again now.
It looks so well planted. You can see the Porsche bouncing around and moving. It's just... Yeah, it just doesn't.
It's very twitchy.
It does look twitchy. Yet that Corvette is just rock solid. Mid-engine car as well, so it's going to suit it much better than what the Porsche does. As Matt Miller goes straight into the barrier, that is race over for Matt. That is absolutely finished. And unfortunately, very nearly takes with him the leader of AM and James Pierce. Matt Miller has just buried that car into the barrier.
No.
It wouldn't come back around. It went into the corner. I think he touched the grass on the left-hand side. He just put a wheel on it, got onto the curb, and it would not come back from the slide. That is a monumental impact into that barrier. That car is not going to finish this race.
I'm not sure if he touched the grass. He definitely caught a whole handful of curb.
He did. I think he got something on the inside.
You know what it was? He came off the curb. It bounced the car, and that's what sent him into that little sideways spin. And then the right rear clipped the curb on the outside of Blanchimont, and that's what did him in.
He just could not get it back out of that slide. It was, if you look at a chase cam here, this car, and I can see it now, he just got on that curve and it would not come out the slide. Had nothing to do, and that's it. That is game over. Andrew Houston has lost a couple of places as well. Something's happened to Andrew. Let's see if I can see what happened there. So he overcooked it massively. Taylor Lane just gets the run out of the final bus stop chicane. He has a really poor exit at Lacombe, and they actually cut straight across the grass at Lacombe. Would have given him a slowdown. Has to let Derek McManus go ahead. So these pros are all strung out. But if we go a couple of cars ahead, James Armstrong, Matthias Dubček, and Sean Campbell are all pretty much close together. So that is where the next fight is going to be in that pro field.
Yep, James Armstrong closed right up on the back of Matthias Dubček, who's only about 2 or 3 car lengths behind Sean Campbell here. And James has quite a run. Can't go anywhere with it, though. James Armstrong had a really big run right before they got into the entry of Blanchimont. Now looking at the outside and the chicane. He's going to have the inside now. Yep. He's got it. No, Matthias fighting back here. He's going to have the inside here at turn 1.
It very much is. He's got the inside, but James Armstrong breaks that a little bit later, gets the car slightly on opposite lock on the exit of the corner, just four-wheel drifts it, but gets it done on the exit and gets it done before he hits Eau Rouge. So they go into Eau Rouge, but Matthias is right on the back of that BMW, and James is not close enough to Sean, but Matthias is close enough to James to be able to get some draft. Now that BMW is probably, I'm going to say, stronger in a straight line than what the Porsche is. Hit the braking zone for Lecombe. It's Sean Campbell and James Armstrong. This is a repeat of 4 hours ago where these guys were battling it out in the World Series. And they crossed the line in the World Series with less than a tenth splitting them. So let's see what they can do in this race. Have they got any pace to be able to catch back up to the guys ahead? I'm going to say it's going to be a struggle.
Yeah, especially with the way these guys have been fighting. They've kind of taken themselves out of the race, for second. In terms of trying to catch back up to Dan Tenorio, they would really have to give each other some room and just log some laps to get back up there. And even then, I don't know if that would be enough. Dan is very quick.
Dan is quick. Last lap from Sean Campbell was a 2:13.8. Last lap from Dan, 2:12.5. Dan is cooking in that Porsche so far. He is really flying. Kevin Brooks did a 2:12.1. I mean, Kevin, dare I say it, and I'm not going to, hopefully tempt fate here, but it is his race to lose. There's 100 points looking like it's in the bag here if he could just get the car across the line and finish what he started. But let's get back to this battle that's forming up with Sean Campbell, James Armstrong and Matthias Dubček. Again, very close through Blanchimont, coming into the braking zone. Nothing changes so far. They stay line astern. James does close up onto the back of Sean Campbell there.
Taylor Lane's not very far off the back of this fight either.
No, Taylor's caught up nicely here.
So he's clawed his way back into this as well, looking for a podium.
Very much so. And there is James right tucked up behind the rear wing of Sean Campbell. As we have our first round of pit stops, clearly Blake Scott is bringing that car in. But let's get back to this. James Armstrong juts out of the slipstream, looks to the inside. He's got the inside line. Into Lecombe.
Side by side. Oh, boy. Over, under. Nope, not quite there.
Right. Goes for it, though. He did try it. He just could not get the job done. James, again, looking very racy as they come into the right-hander down here. We're going to start calling this the Taylor Lane's most hated corner. You see, yeah, I'm just looking back here. Errol back in Am just kisses the barrier on the run down to Eau Rouge and has absolutely bent his steering beyond all recognition. And that car
James Armstrong spins. Oh, and gets tagged by Taylor Lane.
Oh dear.
Oh, what a disaster.
Does it all on his own?
What a fight that was shaping up to be between him and Sean Campbell there.
And Taylor did get a bit of a chunk of that, so... Oh, dear. Well, wow, that's really shook things up. Does it all on his own? Loses the back end.
Taylor. Taylor lost it at Blanchimont.
Oh, dear. What happened there? Did he have bent steering from that?
He had to have.
He had bent steering from the contact with James.
Yep.
He did. And he's on the grass.
Oh.
He had bent steering. He was running off the track, so he didn't get in the way. It's over. That is it. Taylor Lane's race is complete.
Wow, and Braden Mailing just coming out of the pits here now. Well, in replay, so no, he's not just coming out of the pits, but he did make a pit stop.
Oh dear. Oh dear. And James Armstrong's car is looking ever so worse for wear. That's a shame.
Wow, so what a fight that we had building up here, at the front of the field in Pro for 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and now that's all gone by the wayside now.
It very, very much has, which is a shame. And we've got James Pearce, who's now caught right up to the back of Derek McManus. So this is Amon Pro, but it's for track position, of course, as well. So what will they do here? We shall see. That racing was absolutely fantastic there and really gutted it ended early. But I'm sure there's going to be other battles as we look through the field here. I'm sure James Armstrong's going to want to try and get himself back up. Manuel Tolentino is with a very clean car and he's catching up to James Armstrong. So I'm sure he's going to want to have a bit of a... Let's dive into what's going on with the AM field. So we've got Tom Fisher, who started this race pretty much stone cold last, has managed to pull himself up into like fifth overall in the amateur field. Currently catching up to the back of James Costa. That's BMW on Porsche.
So yeah, Tom Fisher currently 5th in AM.
He is indeed. But we've got Brent Bravada looking all over the back of your championship leader so far, which is Michael Kalaga, currently sitting in second in first overall in the points so far. So let's see what sort of pace and strategy he's doing. Brent Bravada just brought it into the pits.
James Costa, he's making his first pit stop now as well.
He's in the pits as well.
So Harry, just out of curiosity, what kind of fuel mileage were you guys getting out of that BMW?
Well, it was more... It's hard to say because the fuel percentage was 98% for Sebring, which is basically just making it a little bit tricky. Over here, we're running 50% fuel with these cars, so they would only be able to hit about the half an hour mark anyway, which we are literally just hitting now. So they'd only be able to hit half an hour. We're going to get a replay on the screen here of Jacob Heathcote just going straight on.
Oh.
Going straight on. Well, he must have thought he was at a different track there. He thought he was at Talladega or something, just carrying on and missing his brakes completely. And we're going to look through the field here and see what's going on. Derek McManus lets James Pearce go on track. And let's have a little look here of pit stops that have just fizzling out. So these guys in the pro field are coming in. We've got Andrew Hewson, Derek McManus, James Pearce is also pitting as well. We've got Matthias Dubček, Sean Campbell, Dan Tenorio, Kevin Brooks is in the pits as well. Will any of these guys take tyres?
My guess would be no, not this early. If anything, maybe tires on the last pit stop. Do a little bit of trickery with either fronts or rears, but not unless you pull a little bit of trickery with the tire wear. And hey, it is April 1st over there, right?
It is. What joke can I play on the missus? She's fast asleep, so I just move the whole house and she just wakes up in a field or something. Let me think of something really interesting and quirky to do. I won't have to let this one slip. They come out the pits and there's a 7-second gap between Dan Tenorio and Kevin Brooks. Sean Campbell has come out with Matthias Dubček right up behind him. James Pearce. We've got a move here between Derek McManus and Andrew Hewson. Andrew Hewson's on the inside of Derek McManus after the pit stop. Derek just lets him have it. Doesn't want to battle too hard for that. So Andrew's pulled himself up into 5th overall. Good race from Andrew so far. He's doing really well. And Sean and James Pearce. Sorry, James Pearce. We've got so many Jameses. It's unreal. James Armstrong has managed to get himself up to within 4 seconds of Andrew Houston after that. So the comeback might be on for James. Has he pitted yet? Don't think he has.
Take a look at his lap time. I don't think so. Can't have, because his last 2 and 3 laps, 2:18.4, 2:12.8, 2:25 from where he spun. So no, I feel fairly positive in saying he hasn't pit yet.
He hasn't pitted yet, no. What we can see here, this is a battle on the screen between Mark Scott and James Costa. Now, there was a little bit of fireworks between these two at Nürburgring we had last week, where Mark Scott, I think he got tagged, and then as his car was getting itself squared away, came straight into the side of James Costa. That put Costa's car up on 2 wheels and nearly rolled it. So I think they're all okay. I think there were some messages exchanged after and everything was fine. So these pair are okay, but let's just see what can happen on track as James Costa gets in the slipstream into Blanchimont. And off tracks are going to be a thing here. I'm not going to share any information on off tracks, but there are some guys out there that are not too far away from unfortunately getting their first, getting their drive-through penalty, which wouldn't be very nice. So let's have a look here.
That's one of the things that Spa's become famous for. Those 1X
off-track city
off-tracks that, to be fair, in some places they're really not off-tracks.
But we have a fight here. Mark Scott makes an absolute meal coming out of the source and brings James Costa right up to the back of him, up through Eau Rouge, up through Raidillon. James Costa takes all of the curb there. Undoubtedly gets a slowdown, has to back out of it, lets Tom Fisher go by. And that might be the aero wash, So when you get up behind these cars, there is a bit of an aero thing that happens where the dirty air of the car ahead really upsets the balance. If you've been out there running all day or been running the last 30 minutes on your own, and then you catch back up to the guys ahead and you go through one of these corners and get an ungodly amount of understeer, that is why. That is your car not having that front end push down. It's not having the air pushing the front of the car into the deck, so it makes a big impact on the front aero balance of the car. So James Costa has to drop all the way back down, loses all that time, but that puts Tom Fisher right up onto the back of Mark Scott. We can see Blake Scott there having a lock up, but we've got some good battles sort of pulling up into Am.
Yeah, and what a run for Tom Fisher in his first race, with us here tonight. Come pretty much like you said, from the back of the field, he's looking at a solid top 5 here. So
yeah, he's doing well. I mean, these battles that are spacing up. Obviously, James Pearce, I hate to say it, has pretty much got this race in the bag. But Brent Bravada, Blake Scott, Michael Kalaga, they're all nose to tail. They are running into traffic with John Casey. And John, unfortunately, gets it all. Oh dear. Bit of contact there on the exit of the corner, and Blake runs into the back of John, causing contact to the front of Blake's car. Now, what's that going to do for his straight line speed? So, back a little bit more, cameraman. Keep going back. A couple of clicks more. Yeah, it was on the exit of the bus stop chicane, and unfortunately John just didn't quite get the run out of the corner, and Blake, nowhere to go, makes contact with him, bends all the front of that Porsche up. Doesn't look to have hurt him too badly here. There we go, we've got it on the replay now. You can see that John's there, lap traffic, goes through the bus stop chicane on the exit, just runs wide, wants to save that off track, but Blake just wasn't expecting that, catches him off guard, bit of contact, no intent, no malice there, but let's hope that doesn't affect Blake's race too much. But obviously, aero is so important round here. It is absolutely crucial to have a clean car.
Tom Fisher all over the back of Mark Scott right now.
It really is. Mark has just come over the radio saying, I think Mark come over the radio there saying that his car was good in a straight line. So, but I've got tyre smoke up ahead of me. What's just happened ahead? Let's go back. What happened there?
John Case.
No, it was not. It was not. So that's
Blake.
Who was that?
Blake Scott. Oh, he carried too much speed into that chicane there. Kind of flicked the back end of the car out just a little bit, and he locked up. I think he locked up the front brakes trying to catch it back under control.
No, it's what you can do with the GTEs, because they haven't got ABS, is once you start to lose, once you realise, hey, this thing's gone, just push your foot straight to the brake pedal and it should sort it all self back out again. But we can see that has made a bit of an impact there. Brent Bavada's having a cracking race. He's second in AM overall at the minute. So we'll talk through your AM standings. It is James Pearce, Brent Bavada, Michael Kalaga, Blake Scott, Mark Scott and Tom Fisher. Tom Fisher is all over the back again. As they come up the hill on Mark Scott, the BMW looks an absolutely solid, well-planted machine. Can't really get any run down the straight there, but Blake must be absolutely crying in that car because he probably is feeling like he's had a podium almost stripped of him, because he was running in, I think it was third overall, third in AM, sorry, and unfortunately now he's got absolutely nothing for Michael Kalaga in a straight line. Last lap 2:16.7. It's like 3 seconds, 4 seconds off the pace. As we get back to the pro battle here between Mateusz Dubček and Sean Campbell. This is for third and fourth in the pro field. And we've got James Pearce. James Pearce is potentially going to end up within the top 5. But he's in the top 5 already. That man is flying. He's an AM. My God, might need to bump him up to the pro field, you know.
Yeah, I don't think that would be a bad idea. As much as he might not like that,
he won't like that.
He's definitely showing he's got the speed to compete with the pros.
He really is having a. He really is having a good time out there. I mean, last lap from him was a 2:12.8. Kevin Brooks at a 2:12.7. So he's pretty much on pace with the leader. That's a mean feat. He's obviously he's got a setup on that car that is just firing on every cylinder for him, but he's really comfortable with it. And we can see here Porsche closing up on the back of BMW, not going to be able to do anything here.
So you have Tom Fisher closing up on the back of Mark Scott here again. If he's going to do anything, that BMW seems the strongest in the first half of the lap around here, and then that BMW of Mark Scott just skirts away, you know, once they start getting into the back section, where it's a bunch of long straightaways and Blanchimont. So if Tom's going to do anything, he's going to have to plan it for one of these, you know, fast sweeping corners.
Very much so. And we can see there, James Pearce, your AM leader, has now caught up with the tail end of a couple of pros. We've got Mateusz Dubček, or again on the back of Sean Campbell, for this other battle that we've got in the Anfield between Tom Fisher and Mark Scott is hitting it quite nicely. Tom's got himself within Ted, I'm getting everything wrong tonight.
Yeah, but watch. This is where Mark. He's just gonna drive away from him. That BMW's got absolutely nothing for him on the straightaways.
Yeah, I don't think he's getting the run that he needs to.
No, I'm gonna hazard a guess that Mark has that Porsche very trimmed out in terms of downforce. I would say he probably doesn't have a whole lot of downforce in that thing at all.
Oh, I think you might be right. I think he's probably got it really trimmed back, but the BMW does manage to catch up a bit there. And I think Tom's got a really good run out of it, and he has. He fires the car straight out of that final chicane. Mark covers off the inside line, takes his line over to the left-hand side. Tom stays to the right. Is it going to be side-by-side into the source? It is. Tom gets the car stopped. Mark clips the... he just cops up a brake, but that is the move complete. Tom got such a run out of the exit of that bus-stop chicane. He fired out of there compared to how Mark Scott got out of it. But let's see as they come onto the Campbell straight through Eau Rouge first. Again, aero wash on the car, see if it makes a difference. Mark comes out of it really strong up to the top of Raidillon. They are going to be side by side down the Campbell straight. As he came out too early there.
Look at the speed of that Porsche.
He's just gone, hasn't he? Whether Tom had a bit of a moment through Raidillon or not, I'm not too sure, but he just fired past him. But he's carried too much speed. He's overshot it. He's on the grass. And he just makes a complete ash of that.
What a drive by Tom Fisher.
But that's brought James Costa into the mix of this battle here for what will be, it's fourth, fifth in class, I want to say. Yeah, it's fifth in class. It's Mark Scott. Tom Fisher's currently fifth. Mark Scott sixth and James Costa seventh.
Yeah, so as they sit right now, Tom would be fifth, Mark sixth, and then James Costa right behind him in seventh.
Well, Tom's managed to pull a gap over Mark Scott. So let's just see what happens here as James Costa's back up on Mark Scott again after his slowdown. It's took him this long to really recover from that slowdown he got, and it really does butcher you. That one does, because once you get it at the top of Raidillon,
that's probably the worst place around here you can get it.
You've got to lose it before you get to Campbell, before you get to the source, which is the first of the right-handers. It just cripples you. But there's a big lock up there from Tom Fisher, goes super wide, brings Mark Scott up to it, brings James Costa up to it. Now that was close. I think there was a smidge of contact between the two, but Tom Fisher just got it all out of shape on the brakes. Mark Scott closes up to the back again of Tom Fisher. Was there contact between the two? I don't think there was, and if there was, it was very minimal. So let's see here. Now just bear in mind, aero wash is a thing. They don't want to be using all of that curb on the left-hand side. They get him up through Raidillon okay. Well, Costa uses a massive chunk of it again. Hopefully he hasn't got another slowdown, because he's only just been able to catch back up to him. Mark Scott blasts. He just blasts around the outside of him like he wasn't there. But can he get it stopped again? He's not going to do it again, is he? No, he's learned his lesson from the last lap. Tom Fisher looking to the inside, nearly slips a nose up there, but doesn't now. This is getting spicy again. And Tom Fisher comes back.
Guys are putting on here.
Comes back down the inside, and James Costa capitalises on it and gets past Mark Scott as well. Great move. Mark Scott goes from first to third in this battle within the space of a corner. Not a good day at the office, that one wasn't. And he gets it out of shape. But James Costa's just...
no.
Jesus Christ. He's just spent 5 laps wringing the neck out of that Porsche to get back up there. And when he finally gets himself in a position, he just makes a complete meal of it. We can see here, as they come down, we've got a replay on screen, right-hander. Mark Scott on the outside. Costa sees the opportunity perfectly on the brakes, up the inside, gets the run out the corner. Job done. Into the left-hander here. I think this is No Name. Forgive me, I'm not too sure of the name of that corner, but it's as they come down the hill here, he gets on the brakes, just pretty much bang on, gets the car in, and it never comes out. It has one little twitch, but then never comes out the slide. I'm sure there was a substantial amount of swearing and blue air going on then. But that is going to be nitro, like heat tyres coming off of that thing right now. So that's not going to handle anything like what it was before. It's going to take a good couple of laps to get the heat down. And let's see what is going on here. We've got James Costa currently in the Ford, but he gets back around him on the entrance of Blanchard. I didn't realise this happened. He gets back around him. I think Eric might have just let him go. I'm not sure. Coming up on lap traffic here. Braden mailing. What's Braden going to do? Hopefully he gets out of the way. Doesn't make anyone's life tricky. I'm sure he will do. He's on the left-hand side. He brakes for the corner. He turns in. Yeah, he stays out of the way. He holds Eric up a little bit there. But then pulls over to the right-hand side and lets him go. Nice work, Braden. So there we have it. That shook things up a little bit. And Tom Fisher's been able to sort of disappear off down the road with ease, I would say. Mark Scott, nowhere near him. But let's see if Tom's got anything else in that car. Last lap was a 2:15.2, a little bit off the pace. Blake Scott was a 2:14.3. So maybe that was just an off lap for Tom. But I'm going to look through this Pro Battle. Pro Battle up ahead is still Sean Campbell, Matthias Dubček, nose to tail. James Pearce might feel like he's being held up. I don't think he should feel like he's being held up because he has a 16-second lead over Brent Bravada, who is... I mean, actually, if you look at the lap times, he's pulled through. Brent has really come to life in this Porsche. He's pulled 0.3 of a second on James on that last lap, and James has got toe, whereas Brent hasn't.
Yeah, but I got to think James is probably just sitting behind these guys, letting them fight it out. So they might actually, well, they would be holding him up just a little bit. And
Matthias Dubček goes to the inside of Sean Campbell into Lecombe. Sean fights back on the exit of Lecombe, manages to stay ahead. Oh, good racing.
This is incredible stuff these guys have put on.
Yeah, they are going absolutely fantastic here. Let's see what's going on in that Anfield again. Anything changes back there? No, Blake, unfortunately, with that damage, I feel that's really hurt him here. I feel that if Blake didn't have that damage, he'd be right up on the back of Brent Bravada, if not into a comfortable second position. So damage is hurting him. Mind you, look at the lap times. Michael Colaga, 2:14.1. Brent, 2:14.0. They're pretty much running equal pace. But as soon as Brent, if he can, get back to the tail of that Ferrari, he's going to be able to pull in through the draft, and that's really going to help him out. That aero is probably hurting him more than he cared to mention. There's nothing worse than having damage on a track like this, where you get to a straight line, and there's plenty of them at Spa, and you just see your delta going up and up and up and up and up on what your fastest lap was. It just absolutely demoralises you. But we are facing what will be the final lap of pit stops soon. Within the next 10 minutes, these guys are going to be entering pits for their final round of pit stops. So we've only got 25 minutes to go in this race. That's breezed by. 50 minutes gone like that.
Yeah, it really has. You know, they say time flies when you're having fun, and this race has gone by really quickly now. Closing in on, what, just over 20 minutes to go, I think.
Yeah, they've done really well. It's a good race, and these guys are really putting a good show. It's a shame that we've seen some casualties early on, but you know, it's coming back around. We've got James Armstrong catching back up to Andrew Hewson. Not only is James catching back up to Andrew Hewson, James Armstrong in the pro field, But he's also catching back up to Sean Campbell and Matthias Dubček. James Armstrong's last lap 2:13.1, Andrew's 2:13.4, Matthias 2:14.5, and Sean 2:14.3. James Armstrong is ringing that beaten, battered up pink and white BMW, and is getting everything he wants out of it. Bear in mind the front end of that car is all smashed up, and you are on a track where it's super aero dependent. And he's doing absolutely phenomenally well.
Yeah, exactly. Especially considering, like you said, that aero damage that will be hurting him on the straightaways. You got to think he might be getting a little bit of help of tow from that Corvette in front of him, but that's, sitting, about a second and a half behind, so he's not going to be getting much. So he's just driving the wheels off that thing right now.
So let's see here as they come across the line, because this is going to get crucial as to where people are catching up and losing time and stuff to each other. The gaps are coming down around these pro field here. James D. Campbell, Matthias Dubček. Let's see what happens as they cross the line. Last lap from Sean, 2:13.8. Matthias 2:13.6. James at a 2:14.3. Andrew Houston 2:13.5. And a 2:13.3 from James Armstrong. So they have caught a second up, pretty much, half a second up on Matthias and Sean. They're going to catch them before the end of this race. I'm pretty confident of that.
Yeah, especially if Matthias and Sean get to fighting here. That's going to bring those guys behind them right up to the back of them. It's not going to take much, to bring Andrew and James Armstrong right back into that fight.
100%. It's getting quite interesting. Let's just have a little look through the AM field and see if anything's happening there, which I don't think it is. Brent Bravada with a 2:13.6, James Pierce with a 2:14.3. So more time took out of it there. That gap is down to about 14 seconds. When we last looked, it was about 16 seconds. There's 2 seconds been pulled back by Brent. Got a hell of a long way to go in a very short period of time, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I gotta wonder just how much longer James Pierce is going to sit behind, Matthias and Sean and kind of let them decide it amongst themselves. Because he is, Brent, as you mentioned, is getting closer. You don't want to give up too much of that gap that he's worked so hard to build.
Well, here's the deal. I'm looking at this here. Tom Fisher 2:14.2, Mark Scott with a 2:15.3, James Cost with a 2:14.3. So he's pulling that gap down to Mark Scott. It's about 4 and a bit seconds at the minute. But if that gap comes down, we'll be able to get back on him. But every time James Cost has got to him so far, something's happened where he's dropped back down. But third time's a charm and all that. Let's see what happens if he can get back to Mark Scott. And that will be for what I believe will be 6th in AM. Mind you, Eric Kalaga is on the back of James.
Josh Harbour.
Josh Harbour.
Big
What's
moment.
happened? What happened with Josh? Let's have a look here.
Coming into the final chicane. Looks like he just locked up the brakes big time sideways.
Does in that G-Drive sponsored Ford. Then he brings it into the pits after that. So there we have it.
Ford's still doing Ford thing.
Yeah. Well, that was grass things. That wasn't Ford things. You could put whatever car you want, and if you hit the brake pedal with one wheel on the grass, it's going to do that. See a replay on screen. He brings it over to the left-hand side of the track, which is the natural place to brake. Touches the grass, and we're sideways. We're getting flies on the rear windows.
All right, so Brent Bravada, he makes his final pit stop of the race. I did not see that car go up on the air jacks, so no tires.
No, I don't think these guys are going to take tires. They've only got 20 minutes. They've got 20 minutes left of the race. So let's see. These guys are coming out of pit lane. We've got Mark Scott and James Costa both in the pits at the minute. Mark Scott's out of the pits. James Costa's out of the pits. That gap is massively down. James Costa was able to pull in take a massive chunk out of the gap between him and Mark Scott there. Let's see what will happen on that front. James Armstrong is yet to pit. Andrew Hewson is yet to pit. Did I see a flash of the lights there from the BMW? I did indeed. Flash of the lights off of James Pearce. What's that meaning? It's meaning something to Andrew Hewson. He's telling him something.
Yeah, I think he's probably getting a little tired of sitting behind him.
James Armstrong looks to the outside, doesn't get it done. Andrew Hewson darts to the pit lane. James has got one more lap left in him, so maybe a little bit of strategy playing out. Sean Campbell has stayed out as well. Dan Tenorio is in the pits. Kevin Brooks is out on track. Some of these guys were able to go slightly longer on the fuel. I think the BMWs are able to go a little bit longer on the tanks. James Pearce stays out as well. I'm sure he just saved some fuel behind him there. But Brent Bravada has done absolutely fantastic work. I'm saying that as he had a moment. Brent, I think, has had a moment. He's done a 2:19.8 on his last lap. Has he had a spin? What's happened? Let's rewind. And let's see what happened to Brent Bravada, because that is... Oh, he did pit. Forgive me. He was in the pits.
Yep, 2:41 flat for Brent last lap, and that would reflect his time on pit road.
Absolutely. But these are the pit stops washing out here. Let's see what happens down the order. Sean Campbell still third. Gap's not really moved. He has actually caught up quite a bit to Dan Tenorio. He's kept the gap to Kevin Brooks at about 30 to 35 seconds. But Dan has kind of fallen off the pace a bit.
Well, Dan actually made his pit stop already.
Yes, that is true. Yes, you are right. And Sean Campbell has not.
Yeah, because I do remember seeing Dan's car on pit road a lap or two ago.
Yeah, no, you're right. So I think these guys here, the BMWs, for instance, of James Armstrong, Sean Campbell, will probably have to pit this time by. Otherwise, it's going to be a tow truck. Yes, so Sean's in. Leader of AM, James Pearce is in. James Armstrong also in. Matthias Dubček already pitted. Yeah, so from third, fourth, and fifth overall are in the pits now. Let's see what sort of pit stop happens here. I very much doubt any of these guys are going to be able to jump each other. But we have got just 16 minutes remaining so far of the race. Michael Kalaga also in the pits as well. Matthias Dubček stays out. So let's see, they are out of the pits, so forgive me for being quiet for a minute there. I was just trying to work out what was going on. And where people have turned out at and what the gaps are at. Matthias Dubček all over the back, and Sean Campbell makes a move into Lacombe. Gets the job done. Good move there by Sean Campbell. Sorry, by Matthias Dubček. I'm getting everything wrong. Just ignore everything I say today, because I'm just getting it wrong. But Sean Campbell might be looking to put a move back on. So after the pit stops have washed out, these two here have come out nose to tail as they did, and they've spent the whole race pretty much eating out of the palm of each other's hands. So side by side as a pull on. That's a move. Sean Campbell gets the job back off him. cuts to the nose off of Mateusz on the exit. Mateusz looks to take it back. Is he going to take it back? No, he does the right thing. He yields here because this section here is always quicker when you are following another car rather than being side by side. And this is playing into the hands of James Armstrong, who was caught up within, I'd say, a couple of seconds maximum of these two. So we are going to have a three-way fight as we go into what is the last 15 minutes of this race. We're going to have a three-way battle for the final podium position. And Andrew Hewson isn't a million miles away from it either. So if these guys up ahead really do start trading paint, then maybe Andrew's going to be brought into it. Mateusz looking to the inside of Sean.
Yeah.
No, too far back. Too far back. But Sean does have to run slightly wide to make sure he wasn't at the inside. And again, that brings James Armstrong back into it a little bit more. Brings that gap down. Just looking here, the last laps, but it's all distorted because of the pit stop. So we're not able to give any last lap readouts at the minute. Don't want to be missing anything in that Anfield either. So let's have a quick look through that. James Costa has been able to get around Mark Scott without spinning or getting slowdowns. That's good. And again, Blake Scott is now ahead of. I feel like I've lost the driver. No, that's fine. Yeah, sorry, forgive me. Tom
James
Fisher.
flashing his headlights going down the Campbell Straight. Not sure what that was about.
I think he wants
James
it.
Armstrong, that is.
He's on a move. He's on a mission. He's going to want to try and get into a podium position here, if he can.
I don't know. Call me a stickler. I'm not a fan of flashing your headlights when you're still 10 car lengths back, or trying to use them as a weapon.
Yeah, I know. I get that. Yeah, there's a tactic though to completely combat that. You know what that is?
Just ignore them.
Just turn your mirrors off. Don't need them anyway, do you? Don't need to see where you've been.
Nope.
Sean Campbell still keeping Mateusz Dubček behind nicely, and that gap, like I said, to James Armstrong behind is coming down quite a bit. So BMW, Porsche, BMW. Where's Andrew Hewson? Because Andrew Hewson, we said last time, was catching up quite nicely to this field. And let's have a look at these lap times. I'm intrigued to see what these lap times are when they come across to complete this lap. This is going to be pretty important stuff. There is just 10 minutes to go in this race. Sorry, 11 minutes and 33 seconds to be precise. Pretty much bang on what you see on your screen is what we've got left of this race. So, come through the bus stop chicane. Sean Campbell comes across the line. What was his lap time? His last lap time was 2:14.3. Mateusz Dubček with a 2:14.6. Sean a second faster, 2:13.6. Has a little bit of a lock up there ahead, and he's right on the back of Mateusz Dubček. What was Andrew's lap time? 2:15.5. So not the cleanest of laps for Andrew. He's going to need a little bit more work to catch back up. Derek McManus is not too far off of Andrew. So after all these pit stops have washed out, these guys have come out pretty much close to each other. Mateusz had a block up into the source and dropped off massively from the back of Sean Campbell, but that's put him right in the clutches of James Armstrong, which is that pink and white BMW there. And with the damage that he's got, James is going to be over the moon to get some sort of draft, because that is what's going to help him get back up to Sean Campbell. Don't forget, these two guys here fought ever so hard and ever so well in the RSR World Series that happened earlier on today.
Mateusz ran way wide there at the exit of that corner.
Well, this is now it. This is in the twilights of the race, so they're probably going to be looking at their off-track things and going, hey, I've got 3 or 4 left. Where do I want to use them? Because they have, like I said, they have 30 off-tracks to use. Use them if you got them, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see here as they come out onto the back straight. Now Sean Campbell has traffic up ahead to deal with. He's got John Casey to try and get around. John's hopefully not going to make this hard work. He doesn't. He pulls over to the left-hand side. He gets well out of the way. Still going to stays out of the way. That's nice work. James Armstrong has a little lock-up, though. Which doesn't do him any favours, I don't think. John Casey staying out the way of James Armstrong and James Pearce. And that's that from Andrew Hewson, though, with a 2:14.2. So he's doing well. James Armstrong is asking James Pearce to bump draft him going down the straights. I don't think that's a good idea, really. So that's not a good idea at all. We don't want to be doing that. I don't think these cars take kindly to the to being bump drafted as they go in a straight line.
No, not at all. These cars are not meant for that at all, and it will. You're more likely to send a car straight on into the barrier rather than trying to help them out going down the straightaway.
100%, yeah, that's not going to work. You're just going to jack them up and send them to the moon. But we're still with this battle at the minute. And again, those cars are kind of spread out a little bit now. So let's drop down and see what's going on through the AM field. I think they're all pretty much spaced out again. We haven't heard a lot from Manuel Tolentino in this race. He's had a bit of a nightmarish one, I think. So currently down in the last running order in the pro field, but he is still out there, so he will gain points.
You know, what a drive by James Pearce here. I know, he's way out in front, but to be this far up into, the pro class with the split field and all of that,
done well, done ever so well.
it's unbelievable.
Yes, indeed. There's 7 minutes left in this race. We are getting right into the back end of it. And I've got to say, they have strung themselves out quite nicely here, so there's not really a hell of a lot to be reporting on. Let's say it's double check. Or was it Sean Campbell there? Sean Campbell might have just had a lock-up into the source, I think. If I can go back and just have a look.
Oh. Side by side with Derek and James Costa there for a moment.
Let's have a little look at that.
Yeah. Andrew Hewson with a moment there.
Oh, Derek McManus, yeah, sorry, and Andrew Hewson. So that is, well, we've got something here. Mateusz Dubček is putting a move on Sean Campbell into the coom. Sean tries to get back onto the door of him. Can't do so. They are side by side, still into the right hand, and Mateusz has got the line. They are still side by side on the exit. That is heating up extremely nicely at the minute, but Sean stays ahead, and it's James Armstrong is right on the back of this now. These are three cars that are nose to tail as we come into the last 5 minutes of the race. Contact between the two. There was contact between the two. And that, unfortunately, I think has put Mateusz Dubček over the limit and has got him a penalty.
Oh. And what a race he was having as well. Been staying up there, battling for a podium pretty much the entire race.
Yeah, he did ever so well. Yeah, I'm just working out what's going on right now. So we've got
5 minutes to go here.
We've got 5 minutes to go. Sean Campbell and James Armstrong.
Mateus, he just parked it and towed.
He did. He did indeed. It was netcode between the two. Yeah, well, it was netcode between the two, and if it's netcode like that and we review it, I was in a position potentially to look at clearing it, but I didn't get the chance, unfortunately, and Mateus has just parked the car, realising that he's probably not going to be able to get much out of it. So, but this is it now. This is Sean Campbell and James Armstrong. Repeat of earlier at Road Atlanta. Had these pair got anything left in them to put a fight together? Has James got anything left in him to put a fight onto Sean? Right on the limit of off tracks, I think some of these guys are. But let's see what they can do. Have you got anything going on through the Amfield that we can bring to you? Brent Bravada still in second place. Michael Kalaga is in third. Now, what would really help here is if Michael, and he's not going to be able to because there's just too much of a gap, but Michael will be wanting to try and take some more points out of James Pearce's win here today, but I don't think he's going to have anything for him. There's like a 15-second gap between the two. Eric Kalaga has done ever so well. He's managed to catch back up, really, not a million miles away from Tom Fisher in that Ford. And there's James Costa that's a little bit back, actually. He's about 6 seconds back off of Eric Kalaga. But between Tom Fisher and Eric Kalaga, there's only about 2.5 seconds between those two at the minute. And looking at last lap times, Eric's done a 2:14.1, Tom Fisher with a 2:15.2. So another couple of laps like that, another lap or two like that. Well, another lap or two like that, the race will be over. So he needs to be doing something a little bit more to get to him. But it'll that might be something to play out. But let's get with this battle here. This is where we wanted to see. This is third place in Pro. It's Sean Campbell and James Armstrong. James Pearce just sat behind them watching it happen. And James is getting all the draft he can in that BMW in the braking zone for Lacombe. Nothing happens yet. We're not on the white flag yet. It'll be white flag, I believe, next time by. So they're going to have to do one more lap after this one. Sean Campbell runs the car right out to the apex. James Armstrong keeps it a little bit tidier through there. And now is the run down to Pouin. Again, Sean, good line through there. They both have good lines through there. Again, not one at the minute seems to be outclassing the other. So let's just see what sort of battle we have as we come into the closing part of this race. And the sun is setting here. We're getting into just before 6:45 p.m. in sim time, sorry. Sean was just a little bit stronger through there that time by, so the gap ekes itself out. But now we are into a straight line period where draft is everything. What is the gap between these two guys as they go into Blanchimont? The gap between these two at the minute is under a second, so aero drag is going to be there. Sean is just sending out all this dirty air off the back of his car, has a wiggle under braking. Oh. And that's what James needed. James needed that, so it brings him right up close. This is going to be your white flag lap. This is the final lap of the race, I believe.
Certainly think it should be.
I'm pretty confident.
James Armstrong all over the back of Sean Campbell now.
I'm pretty confident this is the white flag lap.
I got to tell you, I'm really shocked that these straights are not hurting that BMW more than what it is, as he's got a huge run on Sean. He looks to the inside now.
I think Sean's got to slow down. No, he hasn't.
No, I think James just got a really good run.
Well, here we go. They were side by side for a second there, but they pulled back into line as they come down into the right-hander. Let's see what happens. Sean putting his car pretty much in the middle of the track. James has got no way around him. Into the right-hander, they stay as they were. If I was James Pierce at the back here, I'd be getting well out of this situation, because if something goes wrong, he is not leaving himself much of a gap. So let's see. James just looking all in the mirrors of Sean, trying to make him force the error, force the mistake, so his life becomes a little bit easier. I think Sean's got a little bit more about him than that, though, and I'm sure he's not going to fall for those tricks. As into this chicane here, right and then left. Sean a little bit off the line there. James held a tighter line. And they are still line astern. There's nothing yet. Double right-hander. First one done. Second one. Let's see what sort of run. See, Sean's car just on the curbs there is a little bit wiggly, but let's see what happens into the straight. This is the final lap.
Here.
This is it. It's Blanchimont. This is the chance he's got. Can he do anything at Blanchimont? No, they stay side by side. They say, sorry, line astern into the braking zone. Sean's got to try to
outbrake him.
No, doesn't do it.
Too far back.
Sean doesn't do it, and that, I think, is everything. That is it. He can't get it done. That's everything. And they finish third and fourth. Sean Campbell comes across the line in third.
What a race by these two.
And James Armstrong was fourth. It was a great race. I was expecting something more at the end there, but it never quite happened. But that was fantastic. And of course, we've got to give a shout out. And we haven't really been able to say anything from him. But Kevin Brooks just drove an absolutely fantastic race there. No qualms, no real, anything wrong. And let's give you a talk through how that looks. So first off in Pro was Kevin Brooks, followed by Dan Tenorio, Sean Campbell, James Armstrong, and then fifth overall, but first in AM, was James Pierce. A flawless race by our winners today. Absolutely on the tee, just drove perfectly. Derek McManus comes across the line in sixth, fifth in Pro. Andrew Hewson, Brent Bravada comes second in AM. Great race from him. Came back from really quite far down. I think he started 18th overall. And then Michael Kalaga, your points AM winner at the minute, or leader. Tom Fisher in his first race he'd ever won the BMW, coming across the line to round out your top 10. Eric Kalaga, our sole Ford, and then Manuel Tolentino in 12th. Excuse me. James Costa, 13th. Blake Scott, 14th. Mark Scott, 15th. Braden Mailing, 16th. Josh Harbour, 17th. John Casey, 18th. Matthias Dubček, with obviously that problem at the end, finishes 19th. And then Miles Morse, 17 laps down. Jacob Heathcote, 21 laps down. Taylor Lane, 23 laps down. Errol Uroxy, 23 laps down. Mac Miller, 26 laps down. And Stephen Martinez comes across the line. Doesn't come across the line, sorry. Finishes 30 laps down. And the last car in 25th. What fantastic racing we've seen from Spa. Spa never fails for good racing. I think it's really, just really good stuff. And yeah, I'm a little bit worn out after that.
Yeah, this place definitely, it just suits these GT cars, I think. GT3s, GTEs.
Well, of course, this weekend there's a 12-hour race of Spa in the, I believe it's a new series in iRacing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that. So I think on the whole, absolutely fantastic racing. You can see here we've got our two winners, our AM and Pro winner on the screen. Very picturesque there, Kevin Brooks and James Pierce, and fantastic, absolutely great racing from all of them, and flawless racing from the winners. I think I'm ready for bed.
Yeah.
Quarter past 3 in the morning. I'll probably wake everybody up in the house, but oh well. Yeah, some really good racing. I've really enjoyed this evening to watch what happened, and super well done to our winners. And yeah, I don't think I've got anything more to add.
I don't think any of us do. I think it's leave it on the personal high, you know.
There we go. We'll go with that.
Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. If you like what you saw, hit like, favorite out, subscribe. Consider becoming a member of the YouTube channel. Visit our boys and Racing SimRig toys. If you like the cameras, TrackCams 22 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Well, until next week for the round 6 of the American Series. Your 2 commentators have been Casey Metzger and Harry Wills. Robert O'Brien on cameras. I will hope to see you then next week.